Hi guys, this is just another step in the chain, but one that's sure to irk Donald Trump and Israel. Iran is building new nuclear centrifuge rotor factory. That should be interesting, see how that develops. Iran has built a factory that can produce rotors for up to 60 centrifuges a day, the head of its atomic agency said on Wednesday, upping the stakes in a confrontation with Washington over the Islamic Republic's nuclear work. The announcement came a month after Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei said he had ordered agencies to prepare to increase uranium enrichment capacity if a nuclear deal with world powers falls apart after Washington's withdrawal from the pact. Under the terms of the 2015 agreement, which was also signed by Russia, China, Britain, France, and Germany, Iran agreed to curb its nuclear program in exchange for sanctions relief. The other signatories have been scrambling to save the accord, arguing it offers the best way to stop Iran developing a nuclear bomb. Iran has said it will wait to see what the other powers can do, but has signaled it is ready to get its enrichment activities back on track. It has regularly said its nuclear work is just for electricity generation and other peaceful projects. Ali Akbar Salehi, the head of the Atomic Energy Organization of Iran, said the new factory did not in itself break the terms of the agreement. Instead of building this factory in the next 7 or 8 years, we built it during the negotiations but did not start it. Of course, the Supreme Leader was completely informed and we gave him the necessary information at the time. The factory would have the capacity to build rotors for up to 60 IR-6 centrifuges per day. Last month, Salehi announced that Iran has begun working on infrastructure for building advanced centrifuges at its Natanz facility. And obviously most of this has been reported already. What's new is the factory that can produce up to 60 rotors per day. So they are taking steps slowly along the path to going fully nuclear. And at some point along this path, it's going to be too much for at least Israel to take, and something's going to be done about it. If we're looking at the IPEC GOAT video, the interpretation would be during the blood moon on the 27th of July, something happens which escalates the situation over in the Middle East. Maybe connected with a mosque, maybe connected with something else. We'll obviously keep our eyes open. The other scenario we're looking at for is a tsunami on July 27th in association with the blood moon. Now, we had the alert from Greenland and its iceberg possibly, causing a tsunami there.
What happened? You just hit me.
Excuse me, villagers being evacuated. So evacuations were underway in Arsewitt on the west coast of the vast icy continent, Greenland. The village is home to only 169 people, and more than 30 of them have already moved to higher ground. So, as you would find in any situation, people remain to look at the spectacle, take photographs, and don't heed the warnings that are there. But obviously, it's not something you see every day, so one can, forgive people for being curious, but curiosity did kill the cat. So while you're being curious, be careful and safe as always. But the point is, we have a potential tsunami event in the waiting, one that's already set up, ready to go. And then we had the tsunami in Spain, specifically the island of Mallorca, caused by sudden changes in barometric pressure. These meteor tsunamis, they hit the port de Alucia. I'm not even going to bother saying it, but basically they hit Spain. So that wasn't an all-encompassing tsunami wave that we've seen and been talking about, the scene from the movies and stuff like that. But I believe it was an indication as to the potential, at least what they're going to say, caused this tsunami that we're looking out for, or is part of the chain events that causes this tsunami, because obviously I think it involves volcanoes at the same time. Now, we have news that Rimpac is preparing militaries, local responders for major disaster. And obviously the point of the Rimpac exercise is to train for disaster. We already reported that. And also hunting submarines and stuff like that. But we didn't know what disasters they were training for. But now, at least we know one of the scenarios, and this is it.
Devastating tsunami strikes the island of Oahu. Ports are blocked, bridges are damaged, hospitals are overwhelmed. It's a nightmare scenario that's been playing out on Ford Island this week. Service members from 10 nations taking part in a disaster response training exercise as part of the 2018 Rim of the Pacific War Games. The Conversation's Ryan Finity was on hand to observe it.
The fictional country of Griffin looks suspiciously similar to the island of Oahu, but it's been a tough week in Griffin. The island nation was hit by a powerful tsunami, damaging vital ports and airfields. Local hospitals exceeded capacity. A call goes out for help. That was the scenario given to sailors and soldiers from 10 different nations participating in Rimpac this week. Japan was in charge of the response. International teams of engineers surveyed damaged airfields. Divers worked to reopen blocked ports, and pilots evacuated sick and injured patients. U.S. Navy Reserve Captain Darrell Long is the deputy commandant for the exercise, known as Humanitarian Assistance and Disaster Relief, or HADR. He's from the Florida Panhandle and has weathered his fair share of hurricanes, so this mission hits close to home.
That mission is really to bring initial crisis response to a location that has experienced extreme devastation from perhaps an earthquake, tsunami, and most recently that some could relate to would be the island of Puerto Rico that just recently underwent a major hurricane effort that are, quite frankly, still undergoing some disaster relief efforts.
So this is a very real-world scenario then?
Oh, absolutely. Very real world.
What are some of the other historical instances that this type of exercise is based off of?
Another one would be the tsunami that hit Japan back in 2011 when it hit one of their reactors. Mobilized several forces. U.S. forces came to assistance with the Japanese as well. Also, the island of the Philippines in the Pacific had experienced a similar situation with a typhoon-type event and tsunami that had occurred. So several UN organizations that also came and rendered assistance and aid in trying to figure out how to really get supplies, basic necessities such as food, water, medicine, from ports out inland to those civilian populations that were most impacted by the devastation.
So what types of activities are sailors doing as a part of this training exercise? What types of actions would they take in a real-world scenario?
The immediate need would be assessing, engineering assessments of ports, airfields, infrastructure, housing, roads, bridges, waterways, clearing waterways, being able to allow for freedom of navigation in the littoral waterways so that we could get logistical supplies into a port, offload those from a cargo handling perspective, get them to a distribution center, work with the host nation to coordinate that effort with the host nation and determine the flow of those and where they would particularly go. In addition to that, you would have, in this scenario, for example, one of our task force is a general aviation battalion that's supporting search and rescue operations and medical support, medevacs. Sometimes in these events you see hospitals that may have devastation as well, and in particular this scenario, we have two hospitals, part of the scenario, that have received some degraded availability, so we would provide some additional medevac. For example, we've got the USNS Mercy, a hospital ship that's standing by supporting this particular exercise portion of HADR.
So tell us a little bit about the scenario. What's happening here in this camp?
What's happening is over the last day or so, we've discovered that there's been 3 out of 7 airfields that have been damaged. We have debris floating in the harbors. We have ports that have been damaged. We have 2 bridges that have been damaged as well that have been uncovered as part of the tsunami effect. So as part of that, it's a matter of freedom of navigation, being able to figure out the right port at the right location to help with the logistics supply, and if not, figure out an alternate location where we could bring our logistical supply vessels in. Going out to the roadways, we may have to look at an alternate container storage yard to provide some storage location for our cargo terminal companies. as part of that exercise and figuring out an appropriate distribution center because the roads have been damaged and some of the ports. And then going from point A to point B, we had the roadways that have been damaged. It's a matter of, okay, are there any alternate routes that we may be able to figure? For example, one of our scenarios is there has been extreme obstructions of the roadways, so we have both our Navy Seabees and our Army Engineer Battalion working closely together to work to clear and grub roadways as part of the scenario so we can create an open roadway to get those supplies where needed. In addition to that, as I mentioned previously, is the airfield damage, and we're doing those assessments to determine if they will in fact have an impact to our General Aviation Battalion that's providing support for medevac and or assistance with evacuations.
And how about here in Hawaii? We're pretty vulnerable to a tsunami or a hurricane. Is that a contingency that the Navy trains for, responding to something here?
Yes, it is. In fact, recently brought to my attention that the Pearl Harbor here is a staging area to support such event, just as this. And so this, what you're practicing right now, could potentially be used in real life one day here should such a disaster occur. Oh, absolutely. And that's the beauty of this exercise, is it's really brought, the Hawaiian Regional Health Center, which in fact they're going through a certification event, and we'll have a moment here soon to kind of walk you through and show you some of that hospital laydown area that they'll be preparing for a mass casualty event and those staging areas for such event in the event that it did occur. On the other side of the camp, a field hospital is being set up as an overflow site for local hospitals. But there is a real-life benefit to Hawaii's medical providers.
So I'm going to stop it there. I think you guys pretty much get the gist of the extent to the exercise that they're doing involving a fictional tsunami. But when you're looking at events possibly depicted in a fictional animation video, which appears to have connections to 9/11 and a possible second one, and then you're seeing a potential tsunami ready to go in Greenland in association with an iceberg, a tsunami that was created by barometric pressure, and then you've got the other potential scenario, which is in this particular exercise they're training for, is an earthquake. But again, the Rimpac exercise is going on in the Pacific around Hawaii, where Kilauea is currently erupting and hasn't stopped since May the 3rd. So there's potentials for that to erupt on a massive scale, or for it to be forced, i.e. by a bomb or a missile. So, we're still watching out, and obviously the date I've got for this particular event in association with Kilauea is the 2nd of August, and the 27th of July is in association with Cumbre Vieja. So, yeah, you guys, I hope you found that informative. I'll post a link to this video, so if you guys want to listen to the full 10 minutes, you can do. With that, you guys have a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and may the Heavenly Father bless you.